and everybody, they just did a great job. So appreciate you so much. All right. It's another exciting day. We got a few youth coming back from college who have joined us today, and so I'm really excited for what's going on this morning. And honestly, before we get into the message, into this new series, I just want to take a moment to really thank each and every one of you. This being my first time being up here, you have no idea what impact you have made on my life, and the fact that I am able to come here, work here, and really dive into ministry. You've really welcomed me with open arms, and from the youth to adults. I mean, you guys have just made such an impact in my life, and I don't know where God's going to take me, in the future. But I know one thing: I'll always remember CrossWinds. I'll always remember this group, and I just appreciate you guys. And so walking in today, it's kind of funny. I see people's faces, and we kind of had a sigh of relief, some smiles. We saw the chairs were kind of back how they normally were, and yeah, we're feeling good about that. So we're on to the next series, and our next series right here is Fact Check. And when I saw this and I was going to preach about this, I was like, uh-oh, man, here we go. It's about to get real, right? Because if we're going fact check, I mean, it's really an investigation of facts. It's an investigation of trying to find the truth. So each series, we're focused on truth. Each series we have a series verse, and our series verse is none other than you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. John 8:32. And what I'm going to talk to you today is a little bit about a truth misconception, and just kind of stay with me here, because it's this misconception that God wants you to be happy. I mean, even when I look at it, my first response is, yeah, God wants me to be happy. But, when I look at it, it's kind of like when I get in that world that, yeah, this zip-dee-doo-dah world that 24/7 God is worried about, all that God's worried about is my happiness. What's going to work for me, what's going to be good in my life, that all my comfort, all my desires, everything that I want is the most important thing. And I just don't think that that's what it is. It's this misconception. It's kind of silly when we talk about it. Like when I'm sitting here saying it, and I'm talking about this, this happiness conception. My life was full of happiness. Like my desire, my everything. When I was in life, I was brought up with this. I'm going to chase my happiness. And so I know you guys don't know my story, but so I'm going to dive into my life a little bit. So we're gonna go back into the past, and I want you guys to catch up with me in 8th grade. Now, the reason I'm going back to 8th grade, I know that's kind of a while ways away, but I think when you're in middle school, when you're in that you're away from elementary school, you're kind of growing up a little bit. Your body's changing. All of a sudden, you're maturing. You're becoming an adult. And I think sometimes in that middle school level, like we can go certain ways depending on how those years happen. I know for me, that's a fact. And so I kind of want to let you guys know how I was in 8th grade. I was a basketball nut. My dad was a college coach. I was always around basketball, and I was blessed. I was really blessed. In 8th grade, I didn't play middle school basketball. I played varsity basketball, and I was on 8th grade. I was on a state championship team, averaged 15 points a game, and we went to the state championship that year. The same year, the University of Alabama offered me a full-ride basketball scholarship. That same year, again, 8th grade. Then again, that same year, I got invited to this thing called NBA Top 100 Camp. It was pretty cool. What they do with this camp is they try to find the 100 best players in the country. So it doesn't matter what age, doesn't matter what group you're in, it doesn't matter. They just want the best of the best. So in 8th grade, they considered me a top 100 player in the country. Now, I'm not saying that to brag and to feel good about myself and look at here, pat my back. I'm saying that in 8th grade, this young kid that loving life, that this all sorts of happiness, I mean, how more happy can you be? If you want to fact check me in 8th grade and my happiness factor, you can really ask Pastor Suzanne, because she was my 8th grade English teacher, and I think she would let you know that I was a little too happy. Right? I was a little too happy. I was a little too confident. But I mean, how could you not? If you were in my situation, and with that comes what? It comes a lot of praise, a lot of accolades. All of a sudden, you become a little famous, I guess. All of a sudden, I'm in the newspaper. All of a sudden, I'm watching the news, and they're showing clips of me. All of a sudden, I'm doing interviews. I'll never forget, they did this basketball thing, and it was A through Z. And the letter K was Keegan. It was Keegan, sharpshooter Keegan. You talking about, man, I chest up, bowled out, I'm feeling good. In 8th grade, they're talking about me in the paper. The letter K was for me. I mean, how much happiness can it be? But really, what it led me to was this misconception. It led me to this selfish life. Right, because that feels good, getting accolades and everybody looking at me and me being important. And I love the fact that I walked into the gym and everybody knew that I was there. And that felt good. It felt powerful. I felt like I had a lot of control. And so I started thinking about, this is so embarrassing. I started thinking about later in my relationships in my life at that time. And I guess you can call them relationships, but I was the 2-week wonder. Man, you had me for about 2 weeks. You know, you were my girlfriend for about 2 weeks, and it's embarrassing, but it's this concept of happiness, right? Like, I'm searching happiness. I mean, I'm getting offered by Alabama. When Alabama offered me, other people offer me, so everybody's kind of wanting a piece of me, right? And so when you were my girlfriend, or you're a friend, or you're whatever, I had that 2-week period with you, and all of a sudden, when things got a little rocky, when things got a little uncomfortable, when things weren't making me happy, I'm going to take you to the side, and I'm going to move on. All right, I'm going to take you to the side, and I'm going to go on somewhere else. Same thing with my friendship. Here we go. Same thing with my friendships, right? Because all of a sudden, like, you'd have a friend that's going to try to kind of tell you the truth or bucket you a little bit, and my first response is, no, you're not my friend, you're not true, you're not whatever, I'm going to push you to the side, and I'm going to go on. So I kind of ran away. And if we're looking at the grand scheme of things, are you going to fix me up? All right. All right, so, can y'all hear me? Okay, good. So then I go into this thing, and basically, I was a child. Right, I started this life, and I was acting like a child, and so it brings me to this verse, and it says, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I put the ways of childhood behind me. 1 Corinthians 13:11. So basically, I was a kid. And I look at this picture, and I know we're sitting here talking about happiness, and you guys look at it like an angry kid. It's not an angry kid to me, it's like a stank face. Right? I was living this life like it's my way or the highway. Like, you're going to dive into my happiness. You're going to be on my happiness train. And if you're not my happiness train, I'm going to drop you and I'm going to go on somewhere. And this wasn't just me. I don't want to get, a misconception of me. This was just me in 8th grade. No, 8th grade led me into this life, like, even as an adult. So all of a sudden, I was this kid, this my way or the highway, middle school, high school, college, adult, real world. I mean, this was me. This was me. I mean, literally, I was immature. And so when I look at it, let's do my fact check. And I'm only going to give a brief fact check on what we've talked about. Because if we did fact check on my life, we'd be here way too long. You guys might never come back. But my fact check is, first of all, it was all about me, right? It was all about me. Second is I ran away from discomfort. I ran away. So relationships, friendships, relationships, I ran away from them. But here's the stinger for me. Like, I didn't care. I didn't care. See, I didn't think about, like, those relationships. I didn't think about that girl that I was leaving her feelings, or how that affected her then, or how that's going to affect her in the future. Because all I know is you weren't making me happy. You weren't making me happy, so I'm moving on. Right? Same thing with my friendships. I'm not worried about my friends and diving into their word and wanting to face this whatever we're having, or they want to talk to me and they want to work things out. I don't want to work things out. I don't want to work things out. And so, with me, it goes on to the whole thing. To sum up my entire life, I was just this immature child. I was an immature child. And so this verse here is on immaturity. And it says, you need milk, not solid food. Now, everyone who lives on milk alone is inexperienced with messages about righteousness because he is an infant. But solid food is for the mature, for those whose senses have been trained to distinguish between good and evil. Hebrews 5:12-14, and I know that gets a little bit wordy. But when I'm reading that and I'm looking at that, I'm sitting there saying, like, I need to grow up. Right? I need to get off the milk. I need to search for this solid food. Right? I need to grow up in my life. And so growing up, when we look at it, growing up's hard. I know it's hard for me. Growing up in any aspects is hard. And so if we look at it from a physical standpoint, picture yourself, you go back to 8th grade. How are you? Maybe body was going through a little changes. All of a sudden, maybe a little bit awkward. Maybe you had some pimples on your face. You had some stumbling blocks. I don't even think of it as a kid like now, then me growing up as an adult. I look at it like a month ago, our youth, the boys went to Shakalaka. So I'm sitting there, and we're jumping. We got an hour jump time. So I'm jumping Shakalaka. So I'm jumping for an hour. Let me clear it up. When I say I'm jumping for an hour, I'm jumping for 5 minutes and taking a 15-minute break. So this athlete, this NBA guy that I'm telling you, I can't even, how embarrassing, I can't even jump for an hour at Shakalaka. And our kids, I'm looking at them, and they're like, man, we want to jump one more hour. And there were some other people that are in the room, I'm not going to call them out, they weren't jumping. And they said, they're looking at me saying, hey, what are you complaining about? At least you can jump for an hour. So this physical, no matter what, like, your body fails you, it's tough. You're going to go through trials, you're going to go through mistakes. But here's the big part, it's this spiritual growth. No matter where you are in your spiritual growth, like when you're growing in Christ and you're trying to find, you go through trials, and you go through tough things. You have to face things about yourself. Sometimes you go with unbelief. Sometimes doubt.
I know with me, it's like, man, even me, guilt and shame, like I want to do this and I'm still not doing it. And I mean, there's just so many emotions and it's hard. And you stumble. And you can stumble. But James 1, 2 through 4, I love this. It motivates me. It says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. I mean, I'm a sports guy, right? So that stuff motivates me, man. I'm on fire, so I look at that and I say, hey, man, that's a challenge. That's a challenge. So you're telling me that these mistakes, these trials, all these things that I'm going through, it's just to make me get better. It's just for me to persevere. It's just for me to get to the other side. Right? And I mean, even here it says, whenever you face trials, so it's not saying that things you have, you're going to face trials. When you face trials, it's not always happy. It's not always happy, but this perseverance, I mean, there's two things when I look at this that stick out in my mind. And the first is endurance. Right? This endurance of like, I'm not going to stop no matter how tough. Now I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep going. You know, when I'm feeling weak, when I'm feeling low, I'm going to push through it. And sometimes endurance in our face, like have you ever faced a trial in your life? I know I have, where I felt like I couldn't get through it. Ain't no way I'm getting through it. Ain't no way it's happening. But what happens? You get through it. Right? You look and you're like, man, I'm stronger than I thought I was. I had a little bit of endurance, I had a little bit more in the tank than I thought I did. And then so another trial comes up. And really with me, I've got to the point where this trial, I can face it. If I got through that, I can definitely get through this. All of a sudden that I saw that I'm stronger. You know, and this endurance, this strength, and it strengthens your faith. It strengthens you as a Christian. It strengthens you as a human being. This fact that I'm going to endure, I'm not going to give up, I'm going to keep going. And then the other thing, it says in the verse, is perseverance. This, no matter how tough things get, no matter how much the delay of success, I'm going to get over there. I'm going to get to that trial. I'm going to get to the other side of whatever challenge this is. And so I can't help it. I'm looking at this and it reminds me of the situation. I coach basketball still, and I coach this young team. Very good kids, like great kids. They work really, really hard. Their skill level is great. I mean, coachable. You would love them. You'd be in heaven. But there's this one kid. His name's Nick. And Nick has got this God-given talent that other people just don't have. He's got this unique special ability about him. Man, he can handle it. He can pass it. He can shoot it. He leads. He's got good grades. He's hungry. He can guard you. I mean, anything and everything, he's just got it. He's at a different level than the other kids. So I go through and I'm making practice plans. And every time I'm making practice plans, I'm looking, how can I put Nick at a disadvantage? So with me, I'm looking at Nick at a disadvantage. So what I mean by that is when we do shooting competitions, I put Nick with the worst shooter. You know, we play full court one-on-one. So the check ball right there, one-on-one, and they'll play full court. Well, when Nick's on offense, I have two guys come guard him. So he's 1-on-2 going down. Then sometimes I put two basketballs in his hand, and I put a defender in front of him, and I say, with two basketballs, you got to beat your guy full court with two basketballs. What am I doing? I want Nick to get knocked on his butt. I want him to get knocked, and at that moment, I'm not really worried about his happiness. I'm not. What I'm worried about is him growing. You know, him improving, his response. How is he going to respond to these trials? How's he going to respond to these things? And when he first did it, let me tell you, he was a child. He was a child. All of a sudden, when things weren't working, he was turning the ball over, he's slamming the ball. You know, we're going to get water breaks. He's over there sulking. His body language is bad. He's getting mad. He's throwing stuff. And I just finally one day after practice, I was tired of it. I said, Nick, Nick, what are you so upset about? Don't you understand that I'm challenging you because I believe in you? Man, I care about you. I think that you have so much potential. I want you to grow. You're not going to grow by sitting here and just making you happy and making everything easy. I want you to grow. I want you to take this challenge and make something of it. And so it's funny because then the next day, the whole thing just shifted a little bit. Because then all of a sudden, Nick came to practice, and that joy, it was like, okay, he started to understand, okay, this guy believes in me. This guy thinks that I can do stuff. So he's putting challenges because all he wants me to do is be better. And so he had joy with it. Instead of pouting about it, when the two guys were on him, he found a way to beat him. When he had the two basketballs in his hand and somebody's guarding, he found a way to get it down there. And even when he did it, he dusted himself back up and he got the ball and he said, guard me again. Guard me again. And I love that. And the whole thing about Nick is we're all a Nick. We're all Nick. We all have special talents. We all have special gifts. You guys have something I don't have. I have something you guys, each and every one of us has this unbelievable gift. All right, so I'll be honest with you. Right now, everyone in the church, if y'all wanted to check ball with me one-on-one right now, I'm scoring on all y'all. I am. I'm scoring on all y'all. The only person I'm not going to play is Michael Ketchke because I don't want to get hurt. If you guys saw him at the mission trip, man, he will bite your ankles for a ball. I'll tell you what, if we play 2-on-2, he's on my team. But really in the thing of it, because I would beat you guys at basketball because that's the talent God gave me. That's one of the talents God gave me. But you have something that you're going to knock me out of the water with. And so each and every one of us have our different gifts, right? Each and every one of us have these different things. And so we also have our different trials. We have our different things. It's our way to persevere. It's our way to show endurance. And so no, I don't want Nick to be happy. I want Nick to learn. I want Nick to grow. I want Nick to improve. And so it really brings me to this question. What does God want? If God doesn't want me to be happy, if that's not always after, what does he want? And my answer, I think, is it's not happiness, but wholeness. Going through these things, because when you're whole, all of a sudden you do attack things with a little bit more joy, because you understand, I'm going through this because I'm going to get to the other side of it. I'm going through it because I'm going to get stronger. I'm going through it, I understand, because you love me, and I'm going to take it to the next level. There's 2 teachers I remember in my life, my whole schooling, 2 teachers, and one of them was Pastor Suzanne. And I remember a lot of things about Pastor Suzanne's class, but there's one thing I'll never forget. So first day in her class, I'm sitting middle in the back. Now this isn't like a full class where you're there an entire day. You have about an hour and 50-minute block. So after that hour and 50-minute block, I was moved from middle back up to the front left, right in front of the teaching board. I stayed there the entire year. I didn't move. All my friends moved. I begged to move. She wouldn't let me move. But the funny thing about Suzanne is so I was there, and she would let me be me. She knew I needed my happiness. She knew I needed to be class clown. She knew I needed to be, that guy a little bit. But here's the thing that was different about her that I really appreciated is all of a sudden when I would get a little out of hand, when I would get a little too selfish, when I was taken away from other people's happiness, she would come to my desk and she'd tap. Or she'd place her hand, she didn't have to say a word. And it was basically her telling me, grow up. Stop being a child right now, grow up. And so really when I look at my life, my life wasn't this pretty rainbows and Christian my entire life. Like I walked away from God. I didn't want it. It was this happiness factor, right? It was all about me. But there's no coincidence in my life that when I decided that I wanted to grow up, that I wanted to go after the solid food, I wanted to stop with the middle. Right? And I even get guilty of that sometimes on Sundays as a Christian. It's like I go in and I want that milk. I get that milk on Sunday. And I get beat up through the week. And I come back on Sunday and I'm like, okay, give me that milk, give me that juice, let me get going again. Right? And then I get beat up. But all I know is when I wanted to search for whole food, when I wanted to search and I wanted to grow up, there's no surprise to me that when I wanted to become a man, who was there by my side tapping me? It was Suzanne again. Hadn't spoken to her, but when I wanted to grow up in Christ, it's crazy how the Lord works in mysterious ways that I'm there and there she is tapping on me again. There she is tapping on me again, and here I am, coming to be a man. And so the one thing I know about Suzanne and this church and what's going on is she wants us to learn and grow. Pastor Michael wants us to learn and grow. I mean, look at what we have every week. So we come here and we get the milk. We get the milk on Sundays, but what else do they do? We have next steps. And so they're giving us solid food. They're trying to make us whole. And Suzanne and Michael, they give me things. There's a lot of things about this church that I love, and there's many reasons why I came here, but there's one reason that I will not forget. When I walked away from meeting with Michael and Suzanne, I said, I'm telling you what, that's a couple right there. That's some pastor right there who's going to help me learn and grow. They're going to help me learn and grow. They're going to challenge me, and I'm going to get better. Right? And they do. They put things on my plate sometimes, and I fail. And you know what? They tell me about it. But I love that because I feel like they love me because it's like, you know what? I would rather than they're worried about me being whole. They're not worried about me being happy and telling me what I want to hear. No, I made a mistake. They're telling me what I need to do wrong because they know what I want. They want my wholeness. I want to be a pastor one day. I want to be a leader of people. I want to do those things. And I'm a sponge right now. I want to learn and grow and improve. That's all I want. And so I know with them, that's the one thing in this church, that's the one thing that we have is our pastors want us to learn and grow every single week. Every single week. So no, it's not about happy. It's about wholeness. And really what I want you to do is, since we're talking about next steps, right here on your connection card, down at the bottom, it says, one thing I can do to grow in my faith is. And I want you to really think about, so for me, the one way for me to grow in my faith was to stop waiting for the juice, stop waiting for the milk, stop waiting for the warm and fuzzies, but I'm going to go find out. I'm going to go research. I'm going to go get on YouTube. I'm going to go buy into books. I'm going to go get into the Word. All of a sudden, I'm going to stop my college basketball coaching career, and I'm going to get into ministry. That was my way of growing up. What's your way? Because here's the thing I also know about this is it's so important for each and every one of us to grow. It's so important for each and every one of us to grow because we're here and we're all broken, right? We're all broken. I used to hate my mistakes. I used to hate my trials. I used to be so embarrassed about it. But now it's joy because you know what? It helps me connect to people. Because what have we all been through? We've all been through failures. We've all been through trials, right? And when you come into church, isn't that what we're supposed to make each other? It's like we build each other up, right? We're this family. We make each other whole. Because maybe you guys have showed, I'm struggling with something, maybe you guys have showed perseverance or endurance in a situation, and I need your help to make me whole. And maybe sometimes I've been through something that you need my help, and so we're here to build each other up and to make each other whole. So it's so important that each and every one of us grow, because if each and every one of us grow, we grow. And I'm not meaning grow like we're going to get bigger and get more people. I'm talking about growing with each other, making each other better, really being in there and making each other whole, because if we grow individually, then we grow as a group, and we're a bunch of whole people in here. That's going to make the church grow, and if the church grows, I'm telling you, watch out. I'm telling you, watch out. With what we got in this room, I'm telling you, watch out. So that's my challenge to you today. That's my thing. My next step for you on the week is, what's one thing I can do to grow in my faith? I appreciate it.
Thank you, Keegan, for that great word. In addition, he's been talking about next steps and how can we grow in our faith? How can we really get deeper? How can we move from that milk to the solid food? And some of the other next steps that you see on your connection card is, I want to put my faith, my trust in Jesus Christ. Maybe that's something that you haven't done yet, but you realize, man, I'm ready to start learning more about this. I'm ready to learn and figure out what that might be. If that's you, I encourage you to mark that as your next step as well. Or maybe you are a follower of Jesus and you've been following him for a while, but you're ready to take that to the next level. You're ready to really start pursuing the next level of things and you want to be baptized. We encourage you to mark that as well, and our pastors will be in contact with you to discuss what that means for you. We come now to our time of tithes and offerings, and at CrossWinds, tithes and offerings are for those who consider CrossWinds their home. If you're a guest with us today, please do not feel any obligation to give, because this service is our gift to you. And I want to let you guys know that the gifts that you give to this church have a profound impact. Last Sunday, we hosted Fall Frenzy at the Harvest Campus, and we heard that was a great success, and it was, but I really want to highlight the fact that our youth really stepped up to that. And it's because of your gifts that we're able to pour into that ministry and help them grow and help them learn about God and help them be servants of Christ. And because of them, we made a huge impact in the community, and ultimately it's because of your gifts that we're able to support that ministry. And that's really what we're about here at CrossWinds. So our ushers are going to come forward, and they're going to take up our tithes and offerings and our connection cards, and then we're going to spend a few more minutes in worship.
Please stand and sing our closing song. God, I look to you. Give me vision to